Welcome to the Bald Brad Show. Our lead story of the day comes from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis finally putting these woke colleges on notice and having them turn in their receipts, quite literally, because he's doing a deep dive to see where all the wasteful spending is going and coming from at these state universities. And these places have basically been indoctrination camps for decades, so finally somebody's looking under the hood. And wait till we get into the details and numbers of all this, folks. Your freaking head's going to spin. But before we get into all of it, as always, hit that like and subscribe button. Leave us a comment down below. And do me a huge favor right now. Just double check to make sure that bell icon actually says all notifications and that YouTube didn't go into your profile without you knowing and changing it on you. Some of you will have to change it, but your help and support will be greatly appreciated. It says here, the Office of Governor Ron DeSantis requested information on diversity expenditures from state universities. A memo addressed to Florida Education Commissioner Manny Diaz and Florida State University System Chancellor Ray Rodriguez, which was sent on December 28th and posted to social media on Wednesday by DeSantis' press secretary, Brian Griffin, told the officials to gather data on diversity initiatives in the higher education system as Florida legislature begins to consider budget proposals. That's a fancy way of saying, hey, we're going to start trimming the fat, and that fat's going to be leftist programs, folks. I'm stoked for this. I hope they get rid of a lot of programs here. Like I said, wait till we get into the numbers. Quote, it is important that we have a full understanding of the operational expenses of state institutions, the memo said. The letter is a request for information from the Department of Education and the state university system regarding the expenditure of state resources on programs and initiatives related to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and critical race theory within our state colleges and universities. For each initiative, university administrators were told to include a brief description of the program, the number of staff positions, meaning people that we can actually fire, associated with the program, the total funding used to support that program, so we know how much we're actually going to trim, and the portion of the funding that came from taxpayer dollars to really see how much wasteful money we've been doing here and how much money we've been wasting from our taxpayers. Can't wait till we get those numbers when the full thing's done, basically conducting an audit here. Numerous reports have noted the inflow of capital into the diversity sector, which garnered attention following the George Floyd death in the summer of 2020. Public universities, folks, you sitting down for this? In Michigan, Maryland, Virginia, and Illinois, so only 4 places, employed diversity officials who pocketed salaries ranging from $329,000 to $430,000. Yes, close to $500 million. You heard me correctly. Diversity officials, you guys. In a nutshell, look at paperwork and make sure the university is meeting their quotas on certain races attending that university are making almost $500 million. Talk about waste. Well, this comes from a report from Fox News, while an analyst from the Heritage Foundation found that colleges hire an average of three diversity staffers for every 100 tenured faculty. You could be saving millions and millions just on this one leftist ridiculous program or initiative of getting diversity officials out there. Just get rid of them. I want to say like 5 or 10 years ago, and it could be even longer now at this point, I remember listening to Johnny Ken on AM 640 down here on iHeartRadio, and they were talking about a diversity hire that was doing diversity, equity, and inclusion. Same thing here that I'm sure these people are doing. I want to say it was at a Southern California university that was hired at like $680,000 to make sure the university was basically meeting their quota on certain races attending that university. I don't want to call it a university because I'm not specific on which one it was, but I'll have to look it up later. Maybe I'll pin it in the comments below. But it's just ridiculous on how much these people are making and also spending. Quote, state legislatures, boards of higher education, and university trustees should investigate the extent of resources devoted to DEI personnel at the universities they oversee and subsidize, the conservative think tank concluded. Stakeholders should demand evidence about whether DEI resources are necessary and effective for achieving appropriate goals. The vast majority of them are not, folks. I would really like to point out we just did a story like the other week, maybe 2 weeks ago tops, where there were these leftist professors or these people that are basically conducting studies on corporations, because we talked about how corporations spent exorbitant amount of money on these studies for DEI initiatives and resources to see if certain trainings were actually being productive and it was really worth its weight. Short conclusion, it wasn't. It was a complete waste of money, so much so that literally they cut certain studies short, like these employers of these corporations. And then the person, the diversity, equity, inclusion person that was running the study was going, oh, well, this is why the study didn't work out. This is why it went against what my thesis was or what my end conclusion was going to be. I think it was going to be effective, but since it was cut early, it was no longer effective anymore. And they had certain other variables that they wanted injected in these different studies that were doing the exact same things at different corporations as to why it didn't work. Basically complaining anybody and everything because the study didn't go the way that they thought. even ones that actually finished the study found that it was ineffective as well. So what we could see from all this stuff, complete waste of money, millions and millions of taxpayer dollars completely down the drain for years and years, giving people this kind of money to sit behind a desk and go, oh, okay, well, that's let's check that one off the box. That guy's a person of color. Oh, we got an Asian person here. Cool. Let's do this one here. That person's white. Oh, that person's Hispanic. Oh, Native American. That's awesome. That's all they're doing, basically, folks. I'm really summarizing it, but hey, that's what $430,000 is going to get you. DeSantis, who entered a second term as chief executive of the Sunshine State after a landslide re-election victory, has enacted a number of reforms meant to combat the spread of critical race theory. The official signed Senate Bill 1108 and House Bill 233 into law 2 years ago. The former piece of legislation requires state college and state university students to take both a civic literacy course and a civic literacy assessment as a graduation requirement, which is awesome. Civics used to be taught in high school, but hey, the progressive left want to do away with that because, hey, if people don't know how governments ran and how our nation actually runs, then how can they vote appropriately? And they'll probably vote for the Democrat Party because they don't know what the hell they're doing. That's why a lot of people that vote Democrat don't have a clue what the hell's going on. They want bigger government. They think the government can solve anything and everything. They think government's baby daddy, when in reality, it's supposed to be first your family, then it's your neighbor, then it's your locality, then it's your state institution. I actually skipped out church, so it really should be family, church, locality, state institution, then the federal government if you were to need help. But it's all reversed now. Now it's just the federal government. Help me with anything and everything. Make sure you give me that money, give me that handout so I can take care of myself. That doesn't mean a safety net isn't needed. Okay, safety net is needed, but people take advantage of that as well. So thank God he's putting in that sort of course that you actually need to graduate. Whereas some courses, like I know there's California universities, or at least the state universities here, used to have a writing assessment that you had to do that you had to pass, which is basically bogus. You pass that and then you're able to actually graduate the university. All the while, they get rid of the entry-level courses of your placement exams for English and math. So because so many people were actually failing it, they weren't getting into the entry-level mathematic courses. And those courses, those prerequisites were completely filled. They couldn't even hire enough people to actually teach all these people. And so they get in the entry-level mathematics and actually graduate college. And then when they done away with that, they basically go, hey, you know what? Just pick whatever course you want. You'll be fine. Well, I'm sure you know how that turns out. So that's been a bleep storm ever since. But, I can go on a rant about that. Let's get back to what's going on here. Reforms in the primary and secondary education systems drew from leftist and media outlets, and large corporations contended that the new parental rights law discriminated against proponents of the LGBTQ movement. And one such statute prohibited instruction about sexual orientation and gender identity for students between kindergarten and third grade. These people got upset because they didn't want children from kindergarten to third grade to be groomed, to be pushed to be transgender or whatever it may be, confusing the hell out of these kids. God forbid that we just teach them arithmetic, math, English, how to multiply, and actually just focus on the things that they actually need rather than confusing these kids with things that you for sure, that you barely know about, that you're expecting a kindergarten, a third grade kid to know about. But these are groomers, folks. It's basically the party of groomers now, the leftist party, the Democrats in conjunction with them, grooming these kids, treating them all weird, making sure they get them out to drag shows that are on campus or clubs that they don't know about, their parents don't know about, but they're invited to by their friend that's trying to transition them from male to female, all this sorts of wacko stuff. But hey, they're going to get upset by that because it's a freaking great law, so their kids aren't being indoctrinated with all this crazy stuff. But hey, the Democrats want that supposedly because we all saw what happened in the midterms. Quote, we must ensure school systems are responsive to parents and the students, not partisan interest groups, and we must ensure that our institutions of higher learning are focused on academic excellence and the pursuit of truth, not the imposition of trendy ideology. DeSantis reiterated during the second inaugural address. We will enact more family-friendly policies to make it easier to raise children, and we will defend our children against those who seek to rob them of their innocence. Those that seek to rob them of their innocence are called the Democrat Party. Okay, I know people don't want to call them out. I know that not all Democrats are like that, but boy, oh boy, is a lot of that party really moving in conjunction with the progressive left on indoctrinating our kids, making sure they're giving them puberty blockers, hormone enhancers, making sure they're transitioning the right way with the school psychologist, at the Planned Parenthood that's on campus without the parents knowing, making sure that they're changing their names without the parents knowing, all this stuff. They don't want parental involvement. They want to make sure because they believe they know more than you and that they're the parent of your child and you are not. Stuff is crazy, folks. Support us here on The Bald Brad Show if you already by hitting that like and subscribe button. Leave us a comment down below. Well, speaking of craziness, speaking of shenanigans, we have Elon Musk confronts Representative Adam Schiff from my home state. For the love of God, we are producing terrible politicians about his efforts to pressure Twitter to silence critics and journalists. If you haven't already, folks, support us by hitting that like and subscribe button. Leave us a comment down below and just double check to make sure that bell notification does actually say all notifications. YouTube does some shady stuff here, folks, so they might have changed it on you without you knowing. Double checks that right now. Make sure it actually says all notifications. Your help and support would be greatly appreciated. Well, the latest installment of Elon Musk's Twitter files, the saga continues, folks. The ousting, the exposing of what's been going on for, I don't know, heck, 10 plus years is finally revealed. And this is only stuff we know about. This is only stuff Elon Musk has his hands on. Who knows what was deleted and actually shredded or burned like they would do in the old days, right? Basically, they just probably deleted a lot of this stuff. Well, Twitter files revealed some of the lengths Democrats have gone to collude with social media companies, silence critics, and stifle dissent. We've done about 4 or 5 of these Twitter files already. This stuff is wild, you guys. By the way, there's a lot of media outlets that aren't even covering this whatsoever. It's amazing to me how corrupt these people are and how deep this stuff goes into our federal government. The latest batch of revelations contained an email wherein California Democrat Representative Adam Schiff's office demanded that Twitter suspend journalist Paul Sperry's account, remove any and all content unfavorable to Schiff's aide, Sean Misko, and others, and altogether regulate conversations online about persons involved in both the impeachment inquiry and 2020 presidential election. Isn't it amazing, you guys, that in 2016 it was all about the Russians meddling in our elections, doing this or that, when for all we know, it was just the Democrat Party this entire time, working with big tech, working with the FBI and the DOJ, whoever it may be, CIA, and all these psyops and stuff going on the entire time. Isn't that just amazing how they push that? And our friends as well hopped on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and all these areas. And we're going, oh, you guys are crazy. It was the Russians. That's the only reason Trump got in. You know, he's in bed with the Russians, his business deals, and all these other things. It's so amazing that if you just flip the Trump narrative and attach it to Biden, the whole Biden narrative of what the Trump narrative was is way more likely than actually the Trump narrative what's like at all. If you looked at the number of basically interactions that Ben Shapiro on the Daily Wire got, was more influential than any sort of Russian involvement meddling in our 2016 election, like tenfold. So the whole thing is crazy, but it's amazing here that all this comes out and then they're going to say that it was like the freest and fairest election ever. But yet you have literally a sitting person, a sitting representative that was meddling in the 2020 presidential election, suppressing the speech of Americans. And the Democrats are silent on this. The vast majority of leftist progressive outlets are freaking silent on this. Your friends that are Democrats are silent on this. When we had to hear them for 6 years now complaining about Trump, they still complain about Trump. Nothing. They're so crickets. They're just echoing. It's, you guys, and they don't see it. I think that's the most amazing thing to me. You bring this up to them and be like, hey man, where you at on all this stuff? Like, why have you not been posting? You were posting for 4 years, complaining like a little baby about Trump, about doing this and that. But when the same things apply to now your party, you're silent. You're not posting anything. Go, what do you mean? That's not the Democrat Party. Schiff is the Democrat Party, man. People are idiots, specifically Democrats. Mostly progressive left. There's some great Democrats. I have a lot of Democrat friends. They're not idiots as much. I mean, I still think they should vote red, but hey, we all have our biases. Musk tweeted to Schiff Tuesday evening, hey, Representative Adam Schiff, what is this? You love Musk, man. I mean, I hate the guy sometimes and I love the guy sometimes. I don't like when he suppresses people's speech, even if I don't agree with it. Like, for example, Alex Jones isn't allowed to still be on Twitter because of what Alex Jones said about the Sandy Hook victims, which I don't agree with. I don't agree with what he said about that. It was ridiculous. It was wrong, but I still think he has a right to free speech, and he's not back on Twitter. So you can't say you're for free speech and then not let somebody like Alex Jones back on. Well, investigative journalist Matt Taibbi suggested Schiff's apparent efforts to suppress free speech were an example of the astonishing variety of requests from officials asking for individuals they didn't like to be banned. But these are the same people that are supposed to be upholding the Constitution, folks. These are the same people that your friends of the Democrat Party are voting for all the time. I don't see Trump looking to suppress the speech of others. I don't see a lot of conservatives or Republicans, especially actual representatives, going out and going, you need to silence and censor this person. We've always said as Republicans and conservatives, say whatever you want. We'll be out there going against you, but say whatever you want. I will stand up for your right to freedom of speech, but I'll tell you what, the Democrats aren't going to do the same thing for you, folks. But there's still people in the midterms that voted a hell of a lot of Democrats in still. Taibbi has aided Musk in parsing damning internal evidence of apparent status collusion and censorship to which the previous Twitter regime was party. Taibbi recently outlined how the FBI had engaged in constant and pervasive communications with the social media platform, flagging accounts for suspension and speech for censorship. And you know what the FBI comes out and basically says in a nutshell, if I were to paraphrase it? Oh, we were just consulting. Yeah, we were just giving them kind of pointers on what they should do. If the FBI came knocking on your door and gave you pointers, you think you kind of would follow along a little bit? Because it's kind of intimidating when the FBI shows up at your front door, kind of tells you or consults you to do something. You know what I mean? Kind of rephrase that differently. It should be, oh, I'm consulting you. I'm kind of giving you some advice. No. The FBI doesn't just give you advice. They tell you what to do at the end of the day. You bet your butt. If the IRS showed up at your door and was like, I advise you to probably do this, you think you'd probably do it? You know how many phone calls I get a year from just my friends who get a notice from the IRS? It's absolutely nothing, but they're losing their crap because it has the IRS logo at the top of it. A lot. So they're giving us this whole spiel like, well, the FBI is just consulting you. We're just giving a little points of emphasis on who we think you should suspend, meaning suspend them. In another thread, he detailed how Twitter had let the intelligence community in, caving to moderation pressure amid claims of Russian disinformation circulating on the platform. There you have it, folks. Pushing the whole Russian disinformation, misinformation. I mean, you literally still have Karine Jean-Pierre on the podium every day saying, oh, we want to be careful of the smugglers and the misinformation that we're pushing out there, even though she's the least clearest person to ever stand on that podium and say that she's being clear every single day. It's literally head spinning. The latest thread revealed that by 2020, Twitter was inundated with requests and demands from elements of the government to censor various personalities and narratives. I am so curious, you guys, to see how deep this literally goes. I mean, if you want to look at the deep state, read Jason Chaffetz's book called The Deep State. The guy that literally was the head of the basically the intelligence community in Congress to oversight, part of the oversight committee is the chairman. And my God, man, it'll scare you to death because this guy had like all access to everything, and he would go over like incognito to different countries, and you'd have suits show up from the United States. He's literally dumbfounded how they knew that he was there. They're stopping him from actually talking to people. It's a wild book. Again, it's Jason Chaffetz. I believe he was the congressman for an area in Utah. He was buddies with Trey Gowdy, the two guys I really trusted in Congress that weren't there anymore. They left because it was a swamp. Literally, they said it was dark, and then nobody wanted to do anything. So they left. But by God, man, I miss that man. But again, Jason Chaffetz, The Deep State. It says here, to be noted that requests did in fact arrive and were escalated from all over, from Treasury, the NSA, virtually every state, the HHS, from the FBI and DHS, and more. Democrat operatives long keen on pressuring. I thought it wasn't pressing. That's so weird. I was told the FBI again was just consulting, just giving advice, but it says here pressuring rather. Twitter to silence their critics and foes were part of this escalation. In a partially redacted email sent November 2020, Schiff's office issued the following demands. You guys ready for this? Remove any and all content. These are all in quotes I'm about to read you. Remove any and all content about Mr. Misko and other committee staff from its service, include quotes, retweets, and reactions to that content. Suspend the many accounts, including Greg Rubini and Paul Sperry. Suppress any and all search results about redacted and other committee staff. Stop the spread of future misinformation on Twitter about redacted and other committee staff who are not public figures and who are not central actors in impeachment inquiry or the 2020 presidential election. And label and reduce the visibility of any content about redacted that Twitter does not remove for the reasons cited above. Upholding the Constitution of free speech, huh? The first thing the founders wrote down, and that man wants to sit there and remove your right. But these are the same people that we're supposed to trust on pushing gun legislation. These are the same people that I've been saying have been chiseling away at your rights for decades, and the Democrats love it. And there's Republicans that are part of this as well. There's Republicans that have been chiseling away at our rights as well. These politicians are sick. The swamp needs to be drained. I keep saying it. Matt Gaetz keeps saying it. Republicans need to get their you-know-what together and start doing it. I hate all this talk from Trump as well. We're going to drain the swamp. You didn't do anything in 4 years, Trump, to drain the damn swamp. We got a lot of rhinos in there that need to be gone. A lot of them. You guys know that as well. There's a lot of obviously I'm a registered Republican. I'm a conservative. There's a lot of people that need to be ousted, and for some godly reason, we're idiots too, and we keep voting these people back. They need to be gone. We need to get some better people in there, man. I'm telling you, this midterm election really should have wakened a lot of us up into getting somebody out there that's actually good. The company responded to Schiff's office, indicating that Twitter could not or would look like into suspending the accounts per didn't normally suppress research and search results in manner requested in, although QAnon content had been de-amplified and would not do. Basically, in a nutshell, I know it sounded like I was glitching in and out. I wasn't. That's just the way it was worded. It's kind of off. They're kind of listing some certain things. Basically, in a nutshell, Twitter was like, you're crazy, man. We ain't going to do that. Like when Twitter, like the ultimate suppressor and dethrottling of conservatives, Republicans isn't willing to do what you're going to do, you know you're a little outrageous. Paul Sperry is a senior staff writer for Real Clear Investigations and has been also penned pieces for the New York Post, The Federalist, and other publications. While Schiff's personal reasons for wanting to silence his well-established conservative writer may have basically varied, the Post suggests that Sperry's 2020 article, January 2020 to be specific, in Real Clear Investigations concerning the alleged whistleblower behind former President Donald Trump's first impeachment may have been the final straw. In the article, Sperry discusses how a certain CIA analyst whose name was recently linked in a tweet about the president and mentioned by lawmakers as anonymous whistleblower who touched off Trump's impeachment had allegedly been overheard discussing how to remove the newly elected president from office with Sean Misko, a holdover staffer from the Obama administration. According to Sperry, someone in the White House who had reportedly overheard the conversation said just days after he was sworn in, we're already talking about trying to get rid of him. So blowing all of this stuff, you got these Democrats at high levels working with Twitter to try and suppress the speech of others, and we all got the freaking receipts of it. And the media is silent. The Democrats are silent. Your friends that are Democrats are silent. The leftist friends that we have are silent. It's amazing. And then at the same time, those same friends that we have, Democrats or progressive left, are like, we're for free speech. We love free speech. Oh, we love it. Where are you at on this? The same people that say that it's basically wrong to be silent on an issue, and if you don't talk about it, you're just enabling it, are also quiet on the same issue that are using that exact same thing about something else towards this issue. Isn't it amazing how they're just quiet on here? But when you're quiet about something, all of a sudden you're the bad guy. When you're quiet, when you're not speaking up about it when you should be, or whatever it may be, it's just astonishing to me. The lack of self-awareness and the things that are coming out of people's mouths is just totally mind-bending. I'm not saying I get everything right? I'm a human being. I make flaws. There's sometimes when I say something I don't recognize that it might be hypocritical or it might be wrong or this or that. That's why I do the show. If anybody's been a long-time viewer of the Ball Brad Show, I literally said on day one, the reason why I'm doing this show, yes, to fight back against the left, show their and expose their hypocrisy, their double standard, and the craziness of the Democrat Party and the progressive left. But also it's to journalize basically what I'm saying and document it and vlog it so that my opinions can change over time, that I can become a better person and rewatch everything that I do so that I can be a better American and a better citizen. So that's why we do it. But as always, folks, thank you so much for always supporting the show. We got a banger of a year. Let's make it a great one. Hit that like and subscribe. Support the show better than ever. Share it to your friends and family. Listen to it twice if you can. Heck. And folks, I'll see you tomorrow here on the Ball Brad Show.